Alrighty, I'm Andy. Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to be looking at how to get Rival with the Glad Windwalker, showing you positioning and one-shot guide. We're running Disc Windwalker, and we're going to be fighting Beast Mastery H-Pal. I'm always going to be running the Kiefer's Legendary with Serenity as my last talent. So I try to pop him out with Ring of Peace here. I want to make sure that I'm always on top of the H-Pal, so if the Beast Mastery ever gets next to me, I can Lake Sweep and cleave him, but I notice that the H-Pal is very under-geared. So I go ahead and take this as my opportunity to use everything but Serenity with their Kiefer's debuff to try to get a one-shot on him. I want to stay in light of my sight of my healer there before Trap goes off. Trap lands, so I have to trade cooldowns because he can't get out without trinketing. Try to swap back at the wall again, just taking too much damage from that Beast Master right there. I swap him with Serenity to try to get his cooldowns. I get Pet Sack. I swap back to the Paladin after Bop falls, and since the buff of Kiefer's falls after Bop or Divine Shield is over, I can actually kill him right here with my full damage again. That matchup is basically just realizing when your healer is going to be CC'd by Hunter Trap and making windows of either going on the Hunter to make his damage less because he's focused on kiting and defensives, or counter pressuring their healer to make the least amount of opens for them to do their damage. This is just a double DPS comp based on a one-shot. It's pretty simple, just try to survive the best you can. I swapped from Diffuse Magic to Dampen Harm. Diffuse Magic is actually really good against Ret Paladins because Divine Toll, Wreck Bomb, and Templar's Verdict, all of their massive one-shots, are all actually holy damage, which means they're magic damage. But Dampen Harm is still better against this because it's all damage, not just physical or magical. I want to make sure I go ahead and put my port near his port if I have to chase that Windwalker, but not right on his, so if I have to kite, I have that option. I step out of his Fist of Fury as I root him so I can dodge that. And I want to make sure that I am in range of my healer. That is the most important thing. I got a good Lake Sweep on both of them. He chases after my healer, so I just swap targets. I Trinket the Hodge, get Divine Shield, swap on Divine Shield on Karma. I just go through Karma. Karma doesn't matter. It's a very weak cooldown. So after Divine Shield, right now he can die, because like I said, when a Divine Shield or Bop falls, the window to kill is active again. And he just gets Touch of Death through his Protection Legendary. So that's have to run down the Monk. And like I said, I put my port on his. If he even tried to run further, it just doesn't matter. So for this next one, Feral H-Pal is pretty sketchy. If the Feral is Convoke, they can go an entire game without ever actually using it, just to try to bait cooldowns nonstop for it, making you hold your Trinket, making you hold your Interrupts, making you hold your instant CCs like Sap and Lake Sweep. Always put port down, always play out of line of sight of your port. Once again, my healer is running in with me here. I get raked out in the open, and he is just trying to get damage into the Paladin. The Feral uses Thorns as well as his unused Trinket, so I just want to swap. I got Dark Arced here, gets stunned out. I have everything going but Serenity. I also get Dark Arced and I get Power Infusion, so I just want to line my healer to get the most damage I can out of this small window. I'm just cleaving because the Feral made a bad play of stacking with me, so I swap with Serenity here, and I just do as much as I can. Luckily for him, the Paladin actually sacked that, but I got both Trinkets, I got Sack, and I got everything, and then I touched a Death into it. Or I didn't touch Death into it, but I did so much damage into that the actual sacrifice is what killed the H-Pal there. If he bubbled, he would have been fine, they might have come back and won that, but he was too greedy with his cooldowns. So this matchup is Resto Havoc. This one's pretty rough sometimes, because they have a lot of purging, which means if the Havoc wants to all-in my healer, and their Arshan plays really offensive and just spam purges every shield that goes on, they can actually kill my healer really quickly. So I have to be aware of that before the arena even begins, that I'm probably not the kill target, it's probably my healer. Always put down port, always play out line of sight of port. If you ever have to port, you never want to be able to be heroic leaped or charged or storm bolted, or whatever the case is. So they're stacked here, so I use my cooldowns, but I don't quite stun yet, because I don't want to use too many cooldowns right away. I'm just trying to get to the bubble. I actually have a good proc here. I'm doing big damage to the Shaman. But I haven't gotten any cooldowns yet, because he's being greedy with his cooldowns. There's a Sentence double Lake Sweep swap with the Serenity, and you can just kill through. If you notice, they both had Trinket, he had Spirit Link. He had everything he needed to save his DH, and the DH also had Darkness and Blur. They just have their cooldowns. You can't play too greedy in this expansion. Resto and Holy is a pretty unfun matchup, to be entirely honest. You just die to pets and dots against Unholy, and Chains of Ice is a 70% slow, which is one of the most brutal slows in the game. It's really hard to stay on a target in that scenario. If the resto is really good at kiting and is also Feral Affinity, that can be our opportunity to win, because Feral Affinity Druids can die in a hard swap. But if he was Guardian Druid Affinity, I think this is a pretty unwinnable matchup, personally, as long as he pre-bears every go. So, I'm slowed right away. I just try to get some chi off his pet, do some damage to his pet, maybe I can kill it, see if I can get any leeway out, see if I can bait his healer into opening on that one. So he stuns me, and he cyclones me, which is perfect, because I haven't done my burst yet, which means I'm now on DR. I got Bash and Cyclone DR'd, and the healer's just running away. So I get gripped in. I don't really want to stack for Abomination's Limb, but if I can make him go me instead of my healer, that's way preferred. They vortex us back in together, so we're eating all this cleave. He also Iron Barks and Thorns his DK. I just go through it anyway to make him want to heal everything. I swap here. Stun, Serenity, he only bark skins. He doesn't actually trinket to go bear. He there trinkets and then goes bear. But I get grip back, so it's kind of an overlap on their end. I'm just doing as much damage as I can, and it's just too late. That Druid did not do a very good job of playing out of line of sight of his DPS. So this is one of my no UI games. I don't do this very often, and you can skip to 947 to avoid this, because it's not for everyone, and I understand that. But I turned off my entire UI, except for my overlay for my Twitch stream, and I'm playing this blind. It is HPAL Arms Warrior. Now I am in comms with my Disc Priest for this game, so that is a big portion of why this went so well, I would say. But so I'm starting off on Warrior, and I want to do Warrior most of it. This is my fake burst without Serenity, and I get Storm Bolted there, and I'm sitting it as he leapt to my healer, so I swap to the HPAL with Serenity here, and I start doing as much damage as I can. And the arms comes back with the Intervene, I can see that there. So I know that I can cleave, I get feared out, and I see Dark Arc on me, I see the wings, so I decide to go back to Warrior and try to do as much damage as I can. And as I think I use Dampen Harm there as one of my defensive cooldowns. I think I see that yellow outline. I can also tell that he's Condemn. I get Storm Bolted again. And there's that sword. I can see by the sword on him. I get gripped, which means I'm probably in danger. So I make sure I ring a piece and make sure the warrior can't reconnect to me as I go back on the HPAL. He freedoms, so I sap him so he wastes his freedom and his mount so he can't get away from me anymore. And I'm just doing filler damage right now, try to stall out till I get cooldowns again, because next cooldown bracket I probably just kill, especially if I can get a bubble between those times. So I'm going to go back to Warrior to peel as much as I can for my Priest. I'm just rooting him, I'm Fist of Furying him. I'm doing everything I can to make his job easier. I gave him Sprint there so he can break away. Unfortunately, he's a Charge Condemn Warrior with the Charge Execute talent as an honor talent. I also got a double Lake Sweep there, just cleaving as much as I can. I also can't see if I get Spinning Crane Kick proc, so it's a little bit rough. I can see the H-Pod just used Divine Favor there, and he just went defensive stance. I got a follower there. I see Dark Arc on me. I'm just pressuring the H-Pal again. I get blinded there. I get dispelled immediately. Really good job of my Priest there. I sap him there, and I'm rooting him off again. I want to make sure that my Priest has the best chance of survival. Now, if you'll notice, I'm doing everything I can to peel, though, because I don't really know if there's a win condition yet. So rather than play it super dangerous and just try to get a kill and everything else like that, I just want to make sure that we can survive long enough so I can get cooldowns again. I can't see my debuff for my Kiefer's Legendary, but I don't think that really matters, because as long as I can get a bubble, I know that it's active again. So right there, he died with the swords, and I get stunned, and I got PS'd. So I'm pretty sure that I'm in the low. So I parry out, and we get Bop there, so I swap to the H-Pal, who then bubbles. So right then, I have Zwen, I have Kyrian active, and I know when Divine Shield and Bop falls, they can both die, because he doesn't have die with a sword. So I wall here, that's that skull above my head there for a second, and I swap to the H-Pal, and I use Serenity, and Rising Sun Kick, and then I got stunned there, and I get a spell from the Hodge, Spinning Crane Kick, Blackout Kick, Rising Sun Kick, Tiger's Palm, and then he's just dead. And I turn back on the UI after I kill this warrior here. The warrior leaves. That's what happened. UI's back on. No UI game. Check mark. So Assassination Disc Priest is pretty gimmicky. It's just based around Dark Arcing the Rogue on Vendetta and then trying to one-shot. You can't really commit Trinket until Smoke Bomb or Vendetta is used, and unlike Sub, you can afford to do that, because Sub can kill you in the opener with a Shadow Dance, and Assassination Rogue cannot kill you before that comes out. So I actually Ring of Peace him out there, so I try to pop him out again, and I fail to. So I actually play on top of him here, so he can fear out of that sap, or if they fear me, which they did fear, they're now overlapped it. So I can't get pilled now if I were to do damage. I'm on Stun DR and I'm on Fear DR. So I dispel my own poisons, I slow him, I expel harm to get some chi, and I Kyrian, and I Zwen, and I start doing damage. And I know that I'm going to be off DR soon, so I try to Fist of Fury the kidney shot. He doesn't do it, he evasions. So I go to the Priest in time for the grip, and I can't sweep him, so I only sweep the Priest there. With everything, Trinket that, and he just dies. I can kill through PS sometimes, especially if they like prioritize healing a secondary target, like he did. He healed the Rogue over himself, and they just got punished for it. If he Trinketed, Raptured, and like popped everything to live, he could have absolutely done it. But I also am getting Dark Arc and Power Infusion, so my damage is really high in those windows. HP balance is basically, you'll see here in the opener, their whole game plan is to probably, if I had to guess, use the Priest stun to convoke, and then just target one of us down and instant kill us with that. So I noticed that the Priest won't go high ground, he won't initiate, he won't engage, which means I can tell from this that the balanced druid is probably low ground, and just waiting for a good target to convoke on. I think he's going to choose my Priest. I think most balanced druids find it easier to kill a Disc Priest over a Windwalker. Windwalker has diffused magic, they have port to get out of line of sight, they have Karma, they have Fort Brew. There's a lot of options. So we're just kind of waiting it out. We're waiting for the balanced druid to engage, maybe like Rake Bash if he's Feral Affinity into a Cyclone. The Priest is moving up a little bit, which makes me think that the druid may be upstairs now behind us. And he's just like wary of being out of line of sight before the actual thing starts. I'm letting the Priests tickle each other with their little shadow spells. Still no balance, so I figure he's back here still. I don't actually pop him out. I don't know where he is exactly, but I figure with how that Priest is playing, he's actually already up here. And we can win in Dampening, or we win in Eyes, because I have more damage than a Balance does, and I can stop Convoke. So Balance just comes out, and he's low ground. So we just decide to go in off this. So I have him set to my focus if I need to sap Convoke to stop it. So I go ahead and use my Fake Burst on the Priest. We get Thorns out of the way immediately. We get Solar Beam. I sap the Convoke on the Root Beam. And then I swap to him with Dark Arc, with Serenity, with Power Infusion. I'm doing an insane amount of damage. And it's unhealable because the Priest messed up and Guardian Spirited himself. I think that was just a misclick, but you got to be able to punish those misclicks. So positioning and awareness against Affliction Warlocks is one of the hardest things that I see new people struggle with, especially melee. Understanding the matchup is part of it, because people think that it's just okay if you train the Warlock into the ground, and sometimes you'll win, sometimes you'll lose, and if that's not your fault if you lose because it's just a Warlock. That's not the case at all. Line of sight on a Warlock is important on Dark Soul if you can't trade cooldowns effectively to counter pressure them so they don't get a lot of value out of their Dark Soul. Because if dots are on you, so dash in, Ring of Peace, stop his gateway, and I don't kick that. I don't want to kick that either. He's fake casting himself. I do Fake Burst here. I don't want to kick anything at all. He walls to put the gateway down, so I sap him, so he no longer has a wall, and then he fears me here. I don't get dispelled, and then he finally gets the gateway off. So now the gateway is open, he's going to be able to kite. So instead of fall for that, I try to swap, and my Priest actually makes a mistake and grips me, which is not what I wanted. So I burst on the Priest, but now that I use my ability to get to him, I'm a little bit weary of swapping off this target to chase the Warlock. I'm almost dead, my Priest is almost dead. I used Diffused Magic there to try to stay alive a little bit longer, as well as Karma. So he's bursting, he's got all of his damage rolling, my Priest is dying, but because I used Diffuse and Karma, and I have almost no dots on me, I feel very comfortable staying in this fight. However, my Priest is almost dead, he just got Mind Games, and he's super low right now. But he's, I think, able to survive this for a little bit. I get feared, and I'm getting the dots put back up on me, which is not good. Shadow Fury on me, I can't really roll out of it in time to avoid that stun. I'm now fully dotted, I only have one set of walls left. So I could line of sight here and reset. However, I don't really want to give him that kind of pressure. So I just go ahead and chase him down the best that I can and have faith in my priest to keep me up. Because he has no cooldowns. The Warlock doesn't. He still doesn't have wall. He doesn't have burst now. And he can't gateway still yet. So he's drain lifing my priest. I let that kind of happen so I can top myself up so I can engage while my priest disengages. So we can take turns taking the beating from this Warlock. He keeps fake casting himself. I haven't kicked into these yet. That's the thing you'll see, not to be rude to this particular person, but a lot of average casters will fake cast themselves into it being a worse scenario than if they just actually got kicked. So right now he's trying to kill my priest, and I have pretty big damage procs, and he actually dispels himself and gets silenced and gets killed for it. You don't want to ever dispel against that, and if you get mind games with more than 2 UAs on you, you want to just either heal through it or use a separate cooldown to survive till you can heal. So the Disc Priest just domed. I just use my last walls. I have burst again. And I want to hard swap Priest with my burst on Drain Life. So I kick Drain Life, I swap, I stun. This is my only chance to win this game. And he can't fear me in time because I have Trinket and I have Touch of Death. So I just kill him. So now it's a 1v1 situation. So right now, my burst is falling off. And I don't have any defensive cooldowns. I don't have Karma, I don't have Diffuse, I don't have Curing, I don't have Fort Brew, I don't have my Gladiator's Emblem Trinket that gives you HP. And he dispersed it. So Drain Life is going to hurt, but I just want to reset here. Because he can't self-heal and I can. So he actually summoned out his Fellhunter pet to kick me. And rather than fake it, like I was just telling you guys about trying to like overly fake cast it, I think I just kind of like eat the kick on purpose here if Expel Harm's on cooldown anyway. Sure enough, he kicks me. And he's running me down. I don't know how Warlocks are so fast. I don't know what that is, but he is running me down. So I root him, and then I sap him on that cast, and I just line of sight. I'm trying to kill his pet, get Chi. Expel Harm, I'm bouncing Chi Wave off of it. I just want to survive for cooldowns. If I fight right now before Diffuse, before Karma, before Serenity, I don't win this. I get feared here, which is really, 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 really bad for me. And he gets not too many dots on me. He only gets a UA, Corruption, and Agony. I get kicked again, that's fine. I can't Expel Harm anyway. He came to that pillar, I go to this pillar. I couldn't port it because I was kicked, by the way. If you're wondering why I just chose to ran. Sap him, get some distance on him, trying to heal up again. That pet hurts a lot. I actually choose to kick that pet. Dark Glare does a huge amount of damage. It is not to be underestimated. Now that I have Karma and Diffuse Magic, I can actually get a kill here because Keeper's off. I actually line of sight that Shadow Fury and dodge the stun. I'm getting kicked again. I'm low. I Lake Sweep to get his Trinket out of the way. Sure enough, I get it. He life drains. I'm actually getting super hurt, but I still have a win condition. And this is it in just a moment. So I'm pretty sure I Karma and then Diffuse. So the Diffuse UA damage gets reflected onto him. I then Serenity. And then I Fist of Fury. I cancel it to sap that cast. I then use Kyrian. I use Wen. And I have so much damage left that I don't think any class can really survive that. And I actually run him down. And I just kill him right here. Pretty close game, but we can come back from those 2v1s. All because of positioning on that Warlock. If I were to just fight it out after I kill the Disc Priest, I lose that. So this game is a pretty long game. It's like 7 or 8 minutes. I forget whatever it is. And this is our last game for our Priest to get rival here. And like the last game, this game is super oriented around the concept of can you reset effectively, and then is it worth it to reset? Because if you're both fully dotted and they don't have any cooldowns rolling and you reset, that's so good for them. They don't have to worry about like wasting a burst or wasting a defensive. He gets down gateway and port instantly, by the way, which is bad for us, which is why this game takes longer than the last game. And it's just a game of, can my priest line of sight correctly? I don't ever trinket those stuns. I never want to trinket unless I have to wall. And that should be a common rule against every comp. When you're fighting anything as a Windwalker, specifically, in most DPS classes as well, you never want to have to use your trinket unless you're 100% going to get a kill, or you are going to die if you don't trinket. You should never do it because you want to do more damage. You should never do it because you're annoyed with the class. Like, oh man, I've been MC'd 3 times by this priest, and the rogue just kidding me, and I'm losing my mind, I'm just going to trinket it. That's bad. You can easily lose a game over that. So there's Dark Lair again. and I just decide to karma it for more damage on myself as he almost kills my priest again. My priest is being targeted by mind games. He needs to be out of line of sight of the priest the best he can, but I understand that it's not always the easiest thing to do. So this is the last part of his burst. So now the Warlock has no burst cooldowns, and he can still gateway though. So I don't want to like super overextend. I don't want to dodge the Shadow Fury. It doesn't really matter to me because they're both Disc Priest. Now if the enemy priest was holy, we'd have to play this differently because they would have an extra stun, as well as they would win late game mana. But because they are Disc and both priests are going to run out of mana around the same time probably, and they both do that the same in dampening, despite the Warlock maybe doing more damage than I do, you have to remember that any class that has a Mortal Strike MS effect is actually doing 25% more damage on paper, which is why making classes like Windwalkers as strong as they are so scary. Now the priest actually PS's his Warlock there, which was, I think, silly. I don't know why he PS'd there. I think he was nervous. I think he panicked. But that is not the play. So I still have walls. So that was my diffuse magic, and I ended up using my walls anyway because my priest is out of line of sight. He's ranged from me, and now we just got feared. So we were cross CC'd, so I had to use all of my walls to survive there. In hindsight, when I'm looking back in this footage, I could have played that absolutely better. I could have line of sighted more. I could have realized that their priest and my priest were in a CC battle, and I could have saved my wall and just out-healed the damage on me in that window. Now, I see a lot of people, Windwalkers, and other things that like immediately CC with like a Hex, a Sap, and then they will break their own CC immediately. I don't understand what the purpose of your CC at that point is. Like, so I sapped him just a minute ago, and then I proceeded to self-heal. This is my burst, though, with Kyrian, Zwen, and Power Infusion. And I'm just trying to get as much as I can. However, I didn't make sure I wasn't on DR first, which is what I'm always saying to do. And I didn't do it this fight, and you can tell how poorly it worked out for me. I'm getting kited. I have no damage on target. I'm getting, like, CC'd on it. There's just not a lot of value off of my abilities here. However, he's super far from his priest right now, and he's dangerously low, almost touch death range. And I sapped him, and I made sure I double disabled him, or at least disabled him once before that sap ended, so he was for sure going to be slowed. I line of sight that, because I have no mobility except for roll, which you can shoot past your opponent with because you can't cancel roll anymore. So I didn't want to like overextend. So now I can roll, because there's Dark Arc, and I want to make sure that I can stop his damage because I have an interrupt up. So I make sure to kick the last part of Soul Rot, and I now have to eat UAs and Fears. And he domes because their priest is running out of mana bad. He's at 19%, 17%, 11%. He's running out of mana. The Warlock just walled. My dude grips me, and this is our chance to reset because they're walling, and now their priest is drinking, which I find is very brave. But we can't really do much about it because we're being rotted, and I don't have any cooldowns to survive. Now my priest gets mind games here, and he can't heal me, and he can't dispel himself. So we're just fearing, we're stalling as best we can. He actually fears Dark Blade, the pet I told you about last game. Super good. I don't know if that was meant to or not, but doing that was really good. That pet hurts a lot. So I'm doing this. My whole plan on this one is to do as much damage as I can to force him to not be able to do damage. But once I realize that like we're out of cooldowns, it's just sometimes you just have to soft reset like that. Because I didn't full reset. I didn't do everything I could. I just wanted to do what I could to like just stabilize for a minute. I'm also pretty sure that we were tilted at this point because fighting Affliction Warlocks is not fun. The Legendary makes it a very unfun matchup. Their priest is once again going for a drink. And we stop it just from pure damage output because I'm bursting again. Trying to chase it down. The dampening's pretty high now. It's been a 5-minute game or so. And he Raptures here, which is going to take a lot of his mana as well. And he has to overlap Rapture with PS. Sap Fear, get closer. Make sure I put the slow up in time. So it doesn't matter. Get feared on it by the priest on my mobility. That was pretty bad for me. Trying to self-heal, but I have Fort Brew, I have Karma, I have Diffuse, I have windows to work with now. I do that because he's Power Infusioned. I don't want him to hit us while he's Power Infusioned unless I can stop his damage. Like I can now because I have Kick. Sure enough, I kick it right away. I don't think Drain Life is as dangerous as people say it is. I think that the biggest one is Soul Rot. Soul Rot seems to hurt quite a bit. And now it's just the Priest's dampening's too high, and I do too much consistent pressure. That if with lining his cooldowns effectively and baiting out CC the best that we could, we can kill here in just a few moments. This matchup is pretty unfun though, and I understand that like a lot of people can struggle with this. He also ports it and line of sights his priest at the last minute, but I don't think they can win from that anyway. Because if they kill my priest, I'm pretty sure I win that 2v1 again. But anyway, that was the guide on positioning and how to get rival. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you have any content you'd like to see in the future, please comment it down below.